sorry, that was our Father. Yeah, it's let's do it one more time.
Before we begin our service this morning, we acknowledge that the Unitarian Church of Montpelier is located on Western Abenaki land. We honor, recognize, and respect these peoples as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we walk. In that same spirit, we will respect, protect, and be good stewards of this land as long as we walk upon it. Good morning. I'm Jennifer Roberts, and I am delighted to be your worship associate this morning. And on behalf of the entire worship team, I'm delighted to welcome all of you, whether you're here in the sanctuary or watching on the live stream. Whether you are a newcomer or a longtime member or somewhere in between, you are part of our community, and we are so glad that you're here. For nearly 160 years, our beloved Unitarian Church of Montpelier has been a sanctuary for those seeking spiritual sustenance as well as peace and justice in the world. With you, we continue on that path today. It's always a pleasure to have newcomers and guests join us. If this happens to be your first or second time visiting and you're comfortable doing so, we invite you to wave your hand or stand so that we might offer you a special welcome. Hello, welcome. We're so happy you're here. And newcomers who are interested are also invited to fill out our welcome form so that we may connect with you more fully. You'll find that form at the hospitality table in the vestry downstairs after service at coffee hour. Now, it's your turn to join in the welcoming. Please take a minute to turn to one of your neighbors and say hello. All right, well done. Thank you for sharing your warm greetings. You are invited to continue your conversations after the service during coffee hour. Please note that we have hearing assist devices available at the table in the rear of the sanctuary. You can also listen to and watch the service in the fireplace room downstairs if you should care to leave the sanctuary for any reason. Now, let us take a deep breath, make sure our cell phones are silenced, and enter more deeply into our time of worship with the prelude. Thank you so much, Callum. It's lovely to have both you and Eliza here today. Thank you. All right, so the amazing UCM staff is taking a few very well-deserved vacation days this week. So Sarah and I offered to put together a lay-led service. So as you know, our December worship theme is wonder, so you'll be hearing a lot about that. But we are also on an important threshold as we get ready to enter 2025. So we'll be talking a little bit about that as well.
Mm-hmm. And we've invited some members of the congregation to join us in sharing reflections about being on the threshold of wonder. And you'll be hearing from Paul Olson and from Katie Spring and from Steve Greenwald, as well as from Jen and from me.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. All right, I'm going to start with my reflection is a little bit different than everyone else's. I'm talking about wonder and awe from a science perspective. So we know that it feels amazing to experience wonder and awe, but we might not know all the incredible things that feeling does to help us. According to a recent article in Newsweek, awe is basically a wonder drug. They also describe it as being like a vitamin that we need to get regularly to maintain our mental health. Dr. Keltner, a psychology professor at UC Berkeley, has done a tremendous amount of research in this area. There have been many other studies that have been done as well. Some utilized brain imaging so they could see what parts of our brain light up when we're experiencing wonder and awe. This type of research has only been done for about the last 15 years, so we still have a lot to learn. But I think you'll be amazed, at least I was, at hearing all the ways that it helps us. So I'm going to share some of the ways that it helps us, both from a physiological and psychological standpoint. I'll also share some ways that we can seek out wonder and awe. According to an article from the Spark and Stitch Institute, we should all have a willingness to wonder. So some of the ways that that feeling helps us from a physiological standpoint are, it activates the vagus nerve, which helps slow our heart rate, deepen our breathing, calms our nervous system. It releases endorphins and other neurochemicals, which can boost our immune systems. You'll be happy to know that that feeling that you get that feeling wonder and awe gives you that same feeling you get when you are watching a heartwarming video on Instagram or TikTok. That same hit of dopamine you can get from experiencing wonder and awe. It improves executive and cognitive function, which helps us plan, focus, and make decisions. Now, looking at it from a psychological standpoint, wonder and awe makes us feel that we are connected to something great. Our concerns or stresses, and stresses are momentarily put aside when we are having that experience. It gives us a diminished sense of self, an effect known as the small self, and makes us more humble. It helps modulate our emotional response and fosters a sense of calm and wonder. Studies have found that awe can give people the sense that they have more available time, increase critical thinking and skepticism, increase positive mood, and decrease materialism. As if that weren't enough, it also makes people more kind and generous and more likely to help other people. I'm just going to mention a couple of quick studies that show this. In one study, half the group was asked to write about an experience they had that provoked awe and wonder. The other half of the group were asked about an experience that they had that brought them happiness. The group that wrote about their experience with awe was much more likely to volunteer for a charity than the other group. Isn't that amazing? In one other study, half of the participants were asked to look at something for 60 seconds. One group stood looking up at a beautiful grove of eucalyptus trees for 60 seconds. The second group stood in the same spot but faced another direction. So they were looking at a tall building for that 60 seconds. At that moment, right after that 60 seconds, a researcher went by and accidentally dropped a box of pens, and the people who had observed the eucalyptus trees picked up more pencils. Or pens. They were much more likely to help this person. So I think that is such an amazing thing. So some of the ways we can seek out wonder: you can take an awe walk, preferably in nature, but of course, we can find wonder and awe anywhere. Engage in awe noticing or mindful observation. Engage with music and art, of course. Choose media with awe in mind. There's one other way that Dr. Keltner suggests, and it was a concept I had never heard of, but I love, and I hope you guys will appreciate it too. He said, you should also notice and attend to the moral beauty of others. So moral beauty of others refers to the awe-inspiring acts of kindness and courage, compassion, and other positive qualities exhibited by people around us. These can evoke a sense of wonder as well and inspire us to be better ourselves. So moral beauty isn't limited to grand gestures, but can be found in simple, everyday acts of kindness, like helping a stranger or showing empathy. I see that on display every Monday at our community lunch. Dr. Keltner wrote, "So often our gaze is fixed on our smartphones rather than noticing the wonders and beauty of the natural world, or witnessing acts of kindness, which also inspire awe." I hope that this has inspired you a bit, and that we will all leave here with a willingness to wonder. All right, and now we will have our opening hymn, Come Sing a Song With Me, number 346. Let us now light the chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. This morning, we invite Katie Spring to come up and light the chalice. Thank you so much, Katie. You are welcome to light a chalice at home if you have one handy. We light this flame, an enduring symbol of our collective commitment to lead with truth and compassion. Well done. First time. Thank you. All right, now please join us in saying these words of affirmation. There we are. Look at that. Thank you, tech team. Adapted from L. Griswold Williams. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant.
Good morning. I'm Liz, and I'm substituting for our spiritual exploration director, Caitlin. Today, the older children in the program will be helping the younger children make candy bags for the Monday community lunch. This is the second of a 2-week project that they've been working on. And we are delighted to welcome new families to participate in our program. If you have not already filled out a registration form, please come with your child as we go through that door to fill that form out. You're welcome to stay with your child or to return to the service afterwards. We are so happy you're here. And I have to tell you that goldfish will be being served as a snack, and the children will also be able to have one Hershey's Kiss for helping with the candy bags. If you have any concerns about the food, please let our wonderful teaching team know. So now we will sing the children out as they go, and they can follow me. Thank you.
It is a joy to be part of such an engaged community. Please consult the weekly e-news, which you'll find in your inbox every Friday morning, to find out more about what's happening. And a special thank you to our e-news team for doing such a great job carefully updating it for us every week. And now I'd like to invite Sarah Franklin to come up to share her reflections.
Thank you, Jen, for doing such a great job of selling us on the advantages of experiencing wonder. There are many, many ways that we come to wonder, as Jen made clear, and one of them is that sometimes a powerful memory washes over us and brings us right back to the experience we originally had of wonder. This poem is called Lavender Tea, and it records a memory that washed over me. I inhale from the steaming cup my first hint of the mint and lavender tea given me by a friend, and I remember a perfect June day, cruising up the Dalmatian coast from Dubrovnik to the Isle of Hvar, and even in the harbor, smelling the lavender crop blooming all over that island where Marco Polo was born. Travel startles with realities like that, creates associations we can't ever uncouple. What a blessing that our noses can so poignantly prompt our recall. I top off my cup and inhale again, wondering whether Marco Polo tucked lavender into his duffel bag when he packed for the long, long journey that would take him to China and link worlds that had known so little of each other. Sometimes the source of wonder is our own children, especially when they have come of age and are parents. I love experiencing my son as a parent. I have not written a poem about this particular incident, but I want to recall it for you for a moment. I just love the teacher in my son. My granddaughter, Simone, was helping him in the yard, and she decided to remove a large branch that was hanging from a tree in the foreground. And my son, Arthur, watched her and questioned her, interrupted her. Have you noticed where that branch is likely to fall if you pull it in that direction? He was teaching her about angle, about anticipation, about safety. He didn't want that big branch to crash down on her head. And she backed up and took a look at the situation and repositioned herself. That's my son, the teacher. My Leo son, 50 next year. With him, Mother knew I was pregnant even before I was showing. His energy, maybe. First time Dad held him, he declared, "Oh, this one will be able to sell ice cream to the Eskimos." Even in the crib, he sat up straight to look about himself. In nursery school, he was the only one who could comfort Abby, who woke up from nap time each day sobbing. In middle school, he ordered illegal out-of-state fireworks from the back pages of a magazine and sold them quite profitably to his friends. With their ox boxes of evidence, he and his high school debate friends won the state championship their senior year. I remember when Maggie, my favorite of his girlfriends, lost his favor to Heather, the blonde math whiz. He signed up for trigonometry, and both hung out in the math department and computer lab. Those skills provided the basis for the living with which he now supports his family. His daughter, age 10, delights in his attention, thrives in his energy field, predictably. Sometimes a poem from a great poet reaches out to us and causes us wonder. Emily Dickinson often does that, even with her zippy two-liners. Maybe you don't know this one. In this short life that only lasts an hour, how much, how little is in our power? Oh, Emily, you've given us a lot to think about. I'll bet you know that one of hers, hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. Yeah, she's like that, Emily. I took a course at the Senior Center a year ago with Baron Wormser, and he had a wonderful way of having us dictating a poem of Emily's line by line and having us consider and anticipate where she might be headed in the next line. And there were those of us in the class who enjoyed so much the engagement with the mind of Emily Dickinson and her poetry, and we decided we'd continue using Baron's technique of line by line, predicting and analyzing. And because Emily wrote about 2,000 poems, we could go on and on and on, and we have. And I've made such good friends with the women in this group, and we have so enjoyed our contact with Emily. And I decided that I would try to write a zippy, snappy observation about life. And I called it, Go for a Walk. When life is boring, loosen your moorings. Go for a walk.
Thank you, Sarah. The act of giving is a spiritual practice as important as any other element in our shared time of worship. Our generosity is a form of love. Our gifts freely given are central to the well-being of our church community and allow us to support our shared values with our collective resources. Each month, through the UCM Community Pouch Program, we share part of our collection with an important church fund or community organization aligned with our values. This month's Community Pouch recipient is Youth First Mentoring, an organization that connects people from across Central Vermont with engaging, supportive, and compassionate adult mentors. Half of today's offering will go to Youth First Mentoring, and the other half will directly support the mission and ministry of this congregation. You can find the offering pouches at the end of the pews on the side aisles. Please pass them towards the center. We are grateful to each and every one of you for your generosity in its many forms. Your offering will now be gratefully received.
I'd like to sing for you, there we go, a song I wrote. Went up further. This is a song I wrote just recently when I had my first birthday at college away from home, and I found myself completely alone and feeling a very complicated mix of things, and it's sort of about a dream that I had. Wake in the dim
Wonder, awe, and gratitude come to us in many ways. We've all probably had some of the same experiences, seeing that absolutely unbelievable sunset. You can maybe still remember it. Or the very first smile of a baby. Or watching the leaves in the maple tree across the street at the Kellogg Hubbard Library come down. There are many usual ways that we can encounter and experience wonder and awe and our own gratitude. And there are unexpected, unusual experiences that we don't plan on that can bring it to us. And that's what I want to talk with you about this morning. It was 5 or 6 years ago, and Mary Jane and I, it was Thanksgiving, and we were planning to go to visit our son in Portland, Maine. We wanted to get an early departure from our home in Calais, and just after it was light, we got in the car to head to Maine. And it had snowed lightly that night. There was a skim of snow on everything. And being Thanksgiving, there were still a few hunters up early and out in the woods. And as we drove up our driveway, I said, I'm sure these old snow tires are just as good as ever. We headed down the hill from our home, and there was a truck parked on the side of the road as the road curved. And where the road curved was over an embankment under which the brook from Bliss Pond ran. And as I got closer, I realized I'm going to have to go out into the middle, into the left-hand side of the road to get around this truck. And I did. And when I pulled the wheel to come back on the road, nothing happened. And then as the car went closer and closer to this embankment, I felt my hands tightening, and I pulled it harder to the road, which of course is not a smart thing to do. And then I put my foot on the brake. Nothing happened. And off the bank we went. And as the car began to turn over, something unbelievable happened. Time slowed down, way, way down. And I had all of these thoughts that went through at the speed of light through my mind. The first one was, so this is it. You're going to die in a car crash. And the next one was, what have you left unfinished? And I'm beginning to see the wheels turning up in the air like this. And time slowed down even more. What have you forgotten to do? Have you apologized? Yes. Have you forgiven? Yes. Well, okay. I just wondered, what's next? And of course, what's next was this loud crash. The car landed on its roof, all the windows blew out, and I was hanging there, upside down, as was Mary Jane, and I had the presence of mind to press the button to stop the engine. And right then, it was completely quiet, and all I could hear was the gurgling of the brook. We carefully unbuckled our seatbelts and crawled around and through the glass. I said to Mary Jane, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yes." We got out, we scrambled up the embankment. We were only a quarter of a mile from home. It was early in the morning. There was no traffic. We had but one option, to walk home. And as we did, a sense of euphoria of joy, of gratitude, of wonder took over me completely. I was alive. I was still alive. We weren't hurt. It's changed my life. I'm aware more than ever before that none of us, not I, nor you, know how long we're going to live. And there just is no time to be small or petty, and only time to forgive, to apologize, and to realize that all we ever get is right now, today, this minute. That realization is just full of wonder and joy. And so it is then, so it is today. This is what we have. And it's absolutely wonderful.
Hello. I'm going to start with a poem I wrote. It's called First Harvest. I was 5 or 6 when I first pulled a carrot loose from the soil. What wonders grow where we cannot see, what colors ignite from the depths. Could I carry that brightness inside? Could I be a root of wonder? There's a universal delight and awe in discovering color and light where we don't expect it. The memory of pulling a carrot from the soil is freeze-framed in my mind. I can see myself grasping the green top, holding up this root with soil still on it and staring at it open-mouthed. How amazing it was that this had been underground, that we grew it, and that we could eat it. Throughout my childhood and into my teenage years, I held a sense of wonder like a light inside of me. That wonder led me to beauty and peace and nature, and by high school, I've been given the nickname World Peace Katie, which, though I tried to take it as endearing, was often sarcastic. There's a tenderness to wonder that isn't always appreciated in a society that often equates being pessimistic with being realistic. I can't count how many times and how many ways I've been told directly and indirectly that peace is unrealistic, that love is unrealistic, that growing a life of beauty that nourishes the soul and body and community is unrealistic. It takes commitment to remain in conversation with wonder when the dominant story is constantly shouting all that's wrong with the world. After college, I spent 6 months working as a school garden supervisor in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I worked at a school with a population of predominantly low-income families, and many of the students had never seen how vegetables grow. I still remember the full-body amazement that one student had when she harvested a carrot for the first time, not knowing what was going to emerge when she pulled on the green top. "That's how carrots grow?" she exclaimed, having imagined they'd be visible above the soil and not hidden like a buried treasure. To one who knows nothing of gardening, what would be more unrealistic than a tiny seed turning into a bright orange root that not only tastes good but stores for months, giving us the gifts of everything from carrot soup to carrot cake throughout the cold, dark winter. And even after all these years of growing food, it never gets old. Carrots are still my favorite crop to harvest. Over the years, I found that growing food and flowers is one of the most powerful ways to stay rooted in wonder. The cycle of seed to seedling to harvest is also a cycle of care that reminds me over and over how intertwined we are, how the soil's health is connected to my health, how the nourishment of my community from pollinators to people is also my own. How even in the heartbreaking cycle of climate change, seeds and soil and plants show us there's a way forward in the seemingly small every day. What if we all decided to find evidence of wonder every day? How would the news change? How would society shift toward care? Gareth Higgins, a Northern Irish author and peace activist, says that where you start a story will often determine where it ends, and what you amplify in a story amplifies in the world. So with that in mind, I'll end with another poem I wrote that to me is filled with wonder. In the beginning, there was beauty, a streak of light across space, a crackle, a smile, as if even before the star exploded, it could see all it would become. Oceans and coral alive in color, giraffes, their long necks reaching toward light, reaching as light does, mastodons and beavers, bear cubs and puppies, orchids, gladiolas, anise hyssop, and hummingbirds vibrating in song. Whole mountain ranges sparkling with snow, lizards skittering across sand, and burrowing owls held by deserts. The first explosion knew nothing of violence. It was catalytic joy. How much there was to discover. Light dispersed into each atom, stardust infused into every cell. Even then, in the beginning, beauty knew of endings, so it wove the answer into all ephemera. The glistening dew of dawn, the spark of fireflies, the roll of ocean waves, and slow dance of the northern lights. Everywhere the past refracts, beauty whispers back to us. Nothing lasts forever. The answer to a dying world is simple. Split yourself open and reconnect the light we are all made of.
The many sources of wonder, I think, are clear to us. Sometimes our community overwhelms us with wonder at all we have been given. The walk to Katie's Jewels. Everything pleases me this morning on my way downtown to pick up my mended necklace. From Liberty, I turn uphill onto Hubbard as teeny tiny flakes begin to fall, to melt on my face, to swirl around the children bursting from Union Elementary, above which I stand, watching their eagerness for recess. A tall boy in an orange cap clambers up the embankment right toward me. They own every inch of this playground, know the exact spot from which a striker can score a goal, how to angle the double swing for the best arc, how to be first to reach the roofed shelter. The many things children need to know. Snow still falls as I top East State Street with its view of our Golden Dome State House and the ring of green mountains. In Vermont, every river town is surrounded by their friendly old shapes. Downhill I go, steady on my rubber-soled shoes, thinking of the men who laid these walkways, of those who built foundations under these old wood houses that march down to Main Street and Katie's shop.
All right, we will have a moment of quiet meditation, which we will follow by Spirit of Life.
Good morning. Sometimes when a baby is on the way, we use the word decide, as in the baby might decide to come at any moment. The baby is growing, and by growing creates a crisis. Something has to change. When? And when will the baby decide? And most babies do decide, but not all. For instance, I never decided to be born. Facing this crisis, I turned around, and a surgeon had to come and get me. I had to be lifted across the starting line. Birth is the quintessential threshold moment, like standing on the edge of a high diving board thinking, another step and something is going to happen. If I cross this line, I can't uncross it. And in those moments, I fill with wonder. I wonder, how am I going to get down from here? I've thought of thresholds as passing through a door and then closing it behind me, leaving towards something unknown. And these moments require decisiveness and commitment. And to be honest, those haven't always been my strongest virtues. So I've struggled with these thresholds in my life. Sometimes they've become stumbling blocks. And this has created problems for me and sometimes even grief. But there's another way to think about thresholds. And maybe I can reframe this doorway. I work as a carpenter, and I've worked on thresholds and doorways. As I work in these spaces, I'm crossing and uncrossing the thresholds all the time. And this property of recurrence is true about most of the thresholds in my life. I pass over them in and out and in, and linger in them. Rather than just decision or departure points, thresholds are a space unto themselves, significant in their own right. Because it's not so much the threshold that is important, but it's negative, the space that it holds. A doorway, an opening. Where there could be a wall, there's a way. And I live my life in these spaces, sometimes mostly in, sometimes mostly out, but usually within their proximity, with the possibility of crossing and then crossing again. I worked at a wheat farm in Washington State in my early 20s. I remember one evening as I was leaving to go home. It was a normal moment, a normal evening. As usual, there were all these barn swallows flitting at the boundary of the wheat and the sky. That evening, I lingered to watch them. A door opened in my heart, and I stood in the opening. Swallows are such beautiful flyers. They change course in midair faster than I can see. And there they were, against the green gold of the ripening wheat and the pink purple blue of the darkening sky, darting back and forth. And my thoughts stopped, except one. All I could think was, what is this place? The familiar transformed. I didn't have to decide anything. I didn't have to commit to an action that couldn't be undone or cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. All I needed to do was to present myself, to present myself, to stand in the opening, to be in the way. The wonder came to get me. And the other wonder is this. No matter where I am, that doorway is always there. And I live my life near that threshold. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our amazing contributors. All right, we will now have our closing hymn, Love Will Guide Us, number 131.
Thank you.
As we draw our service to a close, we extinguish the chalice and carry within each of us its healing flame, the warmth of community, and the spark of wonder and awe into the days and the week ahead. Please join now in our unison mission statement. We welcome all to build a loving community, to nurture each person's spiritual journey, serve human need, and protect the earth, our home.
It seemed as if this poem were the right one to close us out, because all you have to do sometimes is look out your window. Squirrel and raven. Oh my, too big for a crow, but definitely that shining black bird is aware of that squirrel. Maybe a raven? Fluffy tail races up and around the maple, and gleaming featherwing flies up from his stroll in the grass to the far side of the trunk. Game on. And it does seem to be a game, a diversion for the quick-witted. Such expert moves and counter moves. How capable, how clever, how alive they are. The beautiful iridescent triangle of wing, the quick arch and full roundedness of tail. Squirrely seems to reconsider. He scampers around the corner into the thicket of an old lilac. Safe for a while if he just keeps that boastful tail of his tucked in. Take care, small rodent. That's one big black beak